This is a long video. I'm going to go over through the process of actually gluing it, stitching it, drilling holes, all of that in one shot. Please bear with me. I'm going to do it time lapse because this would be an insanely long video otherwise. So here goes. I have created the back plate now, and I'm fitting it to the actual case. And what I have to do is actually drill holes through that. You can't punch holes into plastic with this thing. It'll just destroy the case. You have to drill every single one of these holes. So I've positioned it, I've pressed it down, and I'm literally drilling the holes into every little single hole. I'll start with the top and fit that into place. I have to stretch it a little bit because it's actually a little bit short, unfortunately. Whenever you're punching holes into leather, it can spread the leather out. And even though it was fitted correctly, the spreading out of the leather when you're punching the holes will actually cause it to not fit properly. That's the issue I ran into, which is fine. I can stretch it or contract it by hand, and usually it looks okay. This is amateur work. I'm not trying to be perfect with this, so I just want it to look pleasing to the eye, and you have to set your own standards as far as how good you want something to be. Now I did sand this a little bit on this one, and I realized it was a waste of time. There's no point in doing that. So now I'm stitching the top part in. I'm not even going to glue it. There really isn't any point in gluing this to the plastic here because the stitching will hold it in place. Stitching is probably the slowest part of this kind of project. It just takes forever. In fact, it's the one thing I dislike the most. Actually, I stand corrected. I did decide to glue this, even though you really don't have to when you're stitching it down like this. But I did glue just this little area right here. And I'm going to stitch the top part first. Now, I don't really need to worry about the glue on the bottom part now because it has that lining. The point of the lining was to allow the cards to slide in and out, and I could glue the whole back. Problem with that, I probably should have just not had the lining in that area. In fact, I might rip the stitches and cut the lining off because the card doesn't want to slide in and out. The leather's a little bit too thick, unfortunately. So I'm stitching the top portion here now. Tedious process. Your hands get all cramped. I have a hard time with it, actually. If you have a stitching station, it can help to speed it up, and in the bottom part, I actually do that. I use the stitching station for the bottom part for that reason. You'll see here in a sec what I mean by the problem with the credit card holder. When you use thicker leather, it doesn't stretch. This leather in particular, this chromium, doesn't stretch. So trying to get something to fit in there, it just doesn't work. I mean, I practically had to use a lock grip or vice grips to get them in there. As far as the design goes, anytime you're doing any kind of design for leather or anything really, you can't buy something generally the way you want it specifically. Everybody has their own taste, and sometimes companies find a design that actually works for a lot of people and they buy it anyway. Usually something to do with a superhero franchise or something of that sort. People like it because it's so universally likable. But sometimes you just want something that's yours. That's your own idea. Like I have another idea that I'm still working on, trying to get it implemented on. I was thinking of doing it on my wallet, but I'm going to be working on next. And that I'm going to do a little bit different video because I'm going to take an existing wallet. The problem with wallets, the inside of the wallet is a pain to do. It is flat out a pain to do. A lot of work. You have to have just the right leather to do all of that. And it doesn't look right if you don't sew it for some reason. Stitching it, when you stitch by hand, the kind of thread you use for stitching by hand is a little bit big, and it looks kind of funny on the inside of the wallet. It just doesn't look right. That's why they use that real thin nylon thread that is really slender or slim when it's up against the leather, so you can't even hardly notice it. So I'm going to take an existing wallet with the inside of it, and I'm going to actually affix it to a thicker piece of leather that I'm going to do an intricate design on, and then I'm going to make an existing wallet into the wallet I would like to own. It'll be a little bit big, but I don't mind. That's kind of the cost of doing something like this. But that's why I did this case right here with just a back plate instead. And I chose a case that actually has a recessed area for that reason. So the leather doesn't stand out that bad. And it really doesn't. I mean, it added maybe, I'd say about 1/8 of an inch to the thickness. And 1/8 of an inch is acceptable. And it didn't even add to any other issue, just the 1/8 of an inch to the thickness. And it also it elevates the phone off of a surface so that it doesn't interfere with the portion for the camera and all that, where it says 100x right there. Okay, the next thing to do here, I'm going to glue the bottom part on. And this one I'm going to vacuum seal. I didn't the other one because I was going to stitch it immediately and it didn't really matter. But this one I'm going to stitch the corners into place first. Like right there you can see I've actually stitched in the corners. And I'm going to vacuum seal it with a card in place in hopes that it will pull it down in and leave an opening for that card. So there you go. I'm vacuum sealing that portion of the back plate onto the plastic case to seal it in. I'll let it sit overnight, and then I'm going to cut it out. And see there, I'm having a hard time getting the card out. I literally had to use pliers to get it out. Drilling all of the holes to start. As I said, you have to drill through the plastic. You can't punch through it. Once you drill all of the holes, and this was a waterproof case, just so you know, if you do this to a case like this, it's not going to be waterproof. So now I know my case isn't waterproof. So here we go. Now I'm going to use the stitching station, and I'm going to stitch all of this up together. I'm going to speed this up a little bit more even, because it takes an insanely long time to get through this portion. That didn't work. Let me slow it down just a little bit, because you can't see me. Here we go. I just stopped a couple of times because these rascal cats kept showing up and wanting to be petted and loved, and we got all these feral cats running around, and they're semi-domestic because we had a pregnant cat drop a litter in the yard, and surprise, surprise, had all these kittens running around, and so we started feeding them, showing them attention, and getting them accustomed to being held and touched and petted, and so that when it came time we could easily catch them, and get them all fixed. So now we've got an insane number of cats running around, but they're all fixed. They're all spayed. Or is it spayed or neutered or whatever they call it for cats. I don't know. I'm not really up on that kind of thing. So I'm just stitching it in place. It's pretty straightforward. I really like the design in this. I had to use forceps on the corner because I'd already stitched a little bit in that corner. I find forceps to be the ideal way of pushing a needle in through a tight spot, because my fingers it hurts your fingers if you do it too much. And forceps, you can clamp onto that needle, and it's just a really good way of manipulating the needle into a tight spot. It works beautifully. I mean, I've tried needle nose pliers for that. The problem is that you're sitting there trying to apply pressure to it while you're trying to work the needle, and sometimes it just doesn't work. It gets to be a little bit frustrating. But the forceps, you can clamp onto it, and then you don't have to worry about the needle falling out of the pinched grip. So there you go. I'm finishing up the stitching here. Now I did sand the back on the other one. I'm not sanding this one because I've noticed that it really didn't matter. And once I do get it all stitched in place, I'm worried. I was a little bit worried about the threading rubbing up against the back of my phone and damaging the back of the phone if I ever have to resell it. So what I did was I literally just put some tape over the seams, over the threading, just some regular packing tape, and then you'll see here in a bit how I dealt with that. It's pretty straightforward. So this is just your basic saddle stitch. You put a needle in both sides and you pull tight. Needle in both sides and pull tight. And at the end, I back over for a couple of other holes and then fire it up with a lighter to burn the end of it to seal it up. It's pretty straightforward. I basically use a saddle stitch for all of this. So a wallet is the next project I'm going to be doing. And there you go. Now it's all stitched into place. I will, here's where I noticed I had a bit of a problem with the card. So I took, and I tried to put some oil in there. I tried to take a screwdriver and work it out. And I could probably keep doing it and eventually get it to work. But if I'm being honest, it never really did. So I'm rubbing mink oil on it to waterproof it. I waterproof the inside of it. Everything looks pretty good, actually. It's coming together. And I'm now waterproofing the edges. Well, not waterproofing. I'm just treating it with oil. And it helps with the waterproofing and water protection. And that is the basic look of it. Now I'm going to take some tape here and I'm going to just tape the seams. Nothing fancy about this process. You could use different types of tape if you want, and I don't think it really matters. Once you tape up the seams, then I can slide the case in, the phone in, and clamp it into place. There you go. So there you have it. That's the final product. I like it. It looks neat. I'm not sure what the leopard cat means. I think I was trying to play off of a leprechaun. Like there's leopard cats that are magical Irish creatures that sort of can do weird things that a leprechaun can do, but cat-related stuff. I don't know. I'm not sure if it was a great idea, but at least it's something different. And I did like the green cat. I think it was kind of neat. So there you go. I have now finished this project, and I appreciate watching these videos. And if you want to see more of it, by all means, subscribe and like. If you don't, eventually I'll be like, okay, these people don't really want to see this stuff, and I'll just move on. That's fine. I don't have to do a YouTube channel for it. So take care, guys. And it's actually Thanksgiving, so I'm going to go ahead and say happy holidays to you.